and you can egg us on. We need some support. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. So Romans 8, and we started this passage a few weeks ago, so I'll read those 3 verses, 28 to 30. It says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. For those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he justified. And those he justified, he glorified." Today we want to focus on just a part of this series of what God has promised to us through his, what we say, preferred plan and purpose for our lives. And that is, the first part is that for those who God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son. Father, we thank you again for your bountiful blessings. And we pray right now that you will remove all personality from this place, and that you will speak through your manservants, so that the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart will be acceptable in your sight, for you are my God and my Redeemer. Amen. So again, the idea of foreknowledge, the idea of who God is, since God is not in time, and we believe that, we preach that, we expect that. God is not in time. God is, and even when Jesus was here on earth, he made this profound statement in John chapter 15, that before Abraham was, past tense, I am, present tense, also I am is a word that really means God is, or the presence of God, or that God is from all time, really. So from before Abraham, and we could go back as far as we want, but Abraham is, we don't go back to Genesis too often, to the creation, because, you know, they had the creation and they had the early generations, but they were wiped out by flood. And then we talk about Abraham, right?
Yes.
So when we go back to the Jewish religion and to our Christian religion, or the father, so to speak, we go back to Abraham. Remember when I was young, we used to sing Father Abraham had many sons. You know, we do right foot, left foot, all that wonderful stuff. So we go back to Abraham, and Jesus in John 15 said, before the father, the founder of Judaism, or the patriarch of your religion, because, you know, I say those things a little bit hesitantly, because really the one is God. So there's no one greater than Jehovah. But if we're going to ascribe a person, so before the person that you believe strongly in, who by faith stepped out, and therefore all nations have been formed, and you, the Jewish nation, are inextricably tied to your father Abraham. So before your father Abraham even existed, I, Jesus, the present person, am. And they understood it, because they got mad. If they didn't understand it, they might just let it go over their head. But they understood what he was saying. So they came back with a wonderful rhetorical in that they say, hey, you're only a few years old. I guess maybe about 30 looking at you. How could you have existed before Abraham? How is that possible? And that's possible because God is not in time. Time has no restraints on God. Today, I was so restrained by time. I got up this morning and I had to leave home by 8:30. Time. 8:31, I was on the road. speeding. God, thank you for keeping me safely. And got to Iglesia de Dios Shalom at 9 o'clock, or minutes before 9. I was able to walk in and greet and say hi to my fellow ushers from High Street and other ushers and enjoy time there. But I told the pastor there that time was going to catch up to me. And that by 10:15 I had to leave because I had to come back to Philadelphia. And of course he understood and he was appreciative that I was there, and you know, we had a wonderful time. And then again, no pun on the word, time again, we had to move. 10:15, jumped in my car and sped again. You can report me later, but sped again across the turnpike all the way to Fort Washington exit, past my house, and come all the way back to High Street. And at 10:59, I walked into High Street on time. Praise the Lord. Amen. But constrained by time. Amen. Jesus was never constrained by time. As a matter of fact, sometimes he says, my time, my hour, is not yet come. I mean, I'm not ready to do this thing yet, you know. I know the water pots are gone, the wine is gone, and I'm going to just say, well, what do you want me to do? Because, you know, it's not my time yet. But when my time comes, in due season, I will show up and do my thing. God is throughout time. And he is not throughout time because you can see him in different places. It's because he is present in all of these places and all of these times. Because God is always or ever present. Aren't you glad that you serve a God that before you were formed in your mother's womb, he knew you? Yeah, amen. I mean, I was a pretty smart kid and a little bit precocious at times, and I declared to my parents that I knew that I was maybe 8 years old. I declared to my parents that I knew when I was conceived. And my parents looked at me in wonder. How could you know when you were conceived? Since conception had to come first before there was you. And I said, May the 15th, 1958. They looked at each other, they had a smirk on their face, and they looked back at me and said, you're too smart for your own good. But I knew that my father was away for 6 months. My parents were separated because he was working in New York while she was still in Barbados, and I knew that he returned on May the 15th, 1958, and I was born on February the 22nd, 1959. Marty. But it's good to know that we serve a God who is there and was there even before you were formed. I mean, I'm amazed. The more I think of God, the more I read the Word, the more I hear people preach and testify, the more I experience God, the more amazed I am, because he knows everything and he has always been present. My mom prayed that when she got saved, that she would meet a saved man, marry, and have a son first, and that his name would be David, after her favorite Bible character. Praise the Lord. And that's before I was conceived. Yet she has a son, firstborn. His name is David. Praise the Lord. Because God is a present God. God will answer your prayers, no matter what they are. God listens, God hears, and God is always looking to see how he can bless his people. So since God is not in time, and is not restricted by time. His knowing of everything, his all-knowing, his nature is kind of automatic, because you can't sneak up on God, you can't plan ahead of God. You are constrained by time. We have to wait for tomorrow to come, but God says, the songwriter says, I know who holds tomorrow. I know he holds my hand, so I don't worry about tomorrow. See, we have to start living the lives that we testify. Because a lot of us like to test a lie. We tell a good story, but we really not living the story. We got to start living the story, and we'll get to that in a minute. So we said those who he predestined. We're talking about the saints of God, the people that God is working with through salvation to empower us, to give us a preferred future that he has planned for us. So we talked about that a few weeks ago when I said, I predestined that my two boys were going to graduate from college, from Temple University. Not because I was all-knowing, not because I was a prophet, but because I put in place the preferred path. And I paid the price so that they can walk in the preferred path, and so that they can get the preferred outcome that me as a human was able to design for my boys. If I can do that, if I can predestine some of the future of my kids, why can't you believe that God can predestine our future? Because God has paid the price for us, so that we don't have to anymore wallow in sin and pay for the vestiges of sin that's behind us. God has paid the price for us, so we can have the preferred future that he has for us. That's why in Jeremiah 29:11, he says, I know I have a plan for you, and that plan is for a future. That plan is for a certain end. That plan is not to harm you, but to prosper you. Yes. God can say that because he knows that is true. So I was able to say that even though we have a choice. We don't have to walk in God's preferred plan. We don't have to do God's preferred will. As a matter of fact, in Romans it says, it talks about his acceptable and perfect will. His good, acceptable, and perfect will. Because that means his will has a kind of grade level, so to speak. And he wants to bless you all the way to his perfect will. But sometimes he has to settle for the good or the acceptable. We'll talk about that later. But God has a plan for us. And he's called us. We are not saved so that God has some sort of magical, I don't know, has a computer that every time you get saved, it increments by 1. And so anytime you can just press the button and see how many people are saved. God doesn't need to do that. If you believe in 144,000, God already knows the number. If you don't believe in 144,000 as the ceiling, then God still knows the number. But God has this predestined plan for us. And today, in verse 29, it's predestined that we would conform to the image of his Son. And so let's spend a few moments looking at what does it mean that we are called, predestined, God's perfect will and plan for our lives, for us to become conformed to the image of his Son. So that means we have to grow from where we are to where he wants us to be. Because he says for us to become, for us to transform into this understanding. And we have to kind of morph from where we are into the image of the Son. And I want you to know that the Greek word that is used about the image of his Son is so phenomenal. I just jumped ahead myself by skipping the word image. Image, what does it mean by image? It's a figurative term. is a representation, is a reflection. So God wants us to not just be a certain way, but He wants us to be a reflection of His Son. There's a story about the transforming ore into gold, or the raw material of a diamond into what we go so crazy about and spend a whole lot of money for. You know, in this country for sure, and in many countries in the world, the woman is not pleased unless she has a diamond ring. Amen. Hallelujah. So that means the man has to go and work hard to get a diamond ring so that his wife can be pleased. Praise the Lord. And that means the bears can get richer and richer and richer because they are the monopoly owner of all diamonds. Ain't that wonderful? And we buy into that. And we don't feel good. You know, if you come back to work and say you propose, everybody says, where's the ring? And if you see a little skinny ring, you're not really going to marry him, are you? That little thing, I can hardly see the diamond. We want to see a big rock. Well, the way how they form the diamond, or the way how they're going to stop the process, because both gold and diamond has this heating process. And if you heat the element too much, you will totally destroy it. You will have nothing left. So it's possible, we're talking about thousands of degrees Fahrenheit of heat. The way they know when to stop applying heat, they say, is when the maker sees his image reflected. So you got this, you know, gold looks black and ugly, and diamonds look like a piece of rock. They don't look beautiful. But you apply this process and this heat, and then when you see your image, that's when it is now the pure diamond that it will ever be. Because you stop the heat and you can't reverse it, and therefore it's going to be a beautiful diamond forever. God says, I want that same process in you, and I will burn you and burn you until I see my image in you. Now, the burning is not burning us up. God is not going to destroy us. God is too perfect to do that. But God is constantly working on us, constantly chipping away at some of the dross and the stuff that we carry that is not pleasing, that will not end in the purity that He wants for us. So God works at it and works at it until He sees His image in us. And our goal is to stand before the Lord and present ourselves in a way that He can work on us until He sees His image in us. That's why we are predestined to conform or transform or morph into the reflection of the image of who God really is. And the Greek word for son is the word that also can be translated word. I thought that was phenomenal. You might not think so. That's all right. God wants us. His preferred plan for us is that we be reflective of the Word. And that's where it gets difficult. That's where it becomes challenging, because we don't know what a son really looked like. God doesn't want us to look with brown hair and maybe whatever eyes that they decide to paint him as, and long hair and all that stuff. That picture that we have of Jesus, whatever form you have, that's not Jesus. Nobody knows who can have the image of what He is. So we're not being transformed to look physically like Jesus. And what we're transforming is to look figuratively like the Word. We are saved, we are called, to be present-day representations of Jesus. Philippians 2:5 says, in your relationships with one another, have the same mind as was in Christ. You know, if you look at Jesus' life, you get a little bit of the mind of Christ. And you get to see that in times of adversity, Jesus stayed steady. Saints, when we come up against adversity, we should be the last to panic. We should be the first running, saying, help me. We should be the first saying, oh, well, this is the end. I don't know what's going to happen next and that kind of stuff. We should be throwing up our arms. Yeah, we're human, but we should be beyond human because God takes our humanity and translates or puts upon us His divinity so that we live and move and have our being in Him. So that when people see us, you know, it's a shame that many Christians cannot be spotted in the crowd. Because we look like them. We walk like them. We talk like them. We dress like them. You know how many churches the ladies got to wear a shawl when they're in the choir? Okay, I know. I mean, that's not part of your outfit. Why do you have to come in with some big blanket to throw across your legs when you sit down? Because you dress like them. We walk like them, we talk like them, we dress like them, we think like them. We start thinking like the world. So in a crowded room, we can't pick out who is the Christian. Now I'm not saying that if you wear your neck all the way up to here and your skirt length down to your ankles that you're a Christian, but there should be a sense of modesty in how you dress. Yes. There should be a sense of clarity in how you talk and a sense of integrity in how you behave. Yes. Yes. I would hate to think that people cannot recognize that I am different. And to think that Pastor Dave is just like every other person. You might be happy that no one can pick you up because, hey, they all like me and it's good. I find that really appalling. I want to be singled out for the Lord. I want people to say that Peter, after he denied Jesus, tried to blend into the crowd. And one person says, you don't even talk like us. His speech betrayed him. He denied Jesus, but his speech betrayed him. Because the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you act, the way how you behave in certain circumstances, when they tell jokes that are despicable, you should not be the first to laugh and to laugh without control. The fun should stop. We were talking yesterday about watching TV. You should get righteously indignant when the show you're watching presents homosexuality as a normal, regular way of living. You know, I watch Law and Order. I mean, you can't get much easier than Law and Order, right? All of them. I watch Law and Order, but now, even in that, when they have a suspect, they might say, her wife. Her wife? How can a wife be correct? So they may not portray the act, but Hollywood has made it clear. Hollywood has given you their preferred outcome for our future. Hollywood's preferred outcome, Hollywood's predestination for this world is that we all conform to sin. That we all accept what what's sinful? Prostitution, homosexuality, stealing, lying, cheating, all that stuff. It's all in the pot. Hollywood is dedicated. Some shows the bad guy wins. When I was a kid growing up, I never had to worry about the outcome of the movie because the good guy was always going to come out on top. Yep. I even watched a James Bond show where Bond got captured. I couldn't get away. What sort of James Bond are we talking about? The end of the show, Bond was captured. And we have to wait for the next Bond to see what happened to him. That's not the James Bond that I grew up with. Goldfinger? You couldn't stop this man. James Bond will always find a way out. But Hollywood has made it so that now the good will not always win and the bad will often win. And sometimes you find yourself rooting for the bad guy. Sometimes we get so caught up in it that we hope that they will escape. We hope that don't catch them this time. Wait for the next episode. Let them escape this time. And we got to be careful because what we're doing is our minds are not being transformed as God is saying in Romans 12. Right? Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That is the renewing of your minds in the way of the Lord. Our minds are getting conformed and transformed to the way of the world. And we the Christians are simply happy. There was a song when I was a young Christian that we used to sing a lot. Even when I was in college, they will know we are Christians by our love. Yes, they will know we are Christians by our love. Nowadays, I don't know how they know we are Christians. We're living in a world where Christians are blended into society. We camouflage really nicely. So when we sit next to the sinner, we kind of start to look like the sinner. You know, that's what these reptiles who have that ability to blend with their surroundings. You know, some lizards do it, some deer do it, so a lot of different animals are able to do it. They camouflage and they look just like their surroundings. Saints, we don't need to camouflage.
No, sir.
We don't need to be Christians who blend in and start to look like who we are around. Because there's a coming a day when we're going to have to give an account for our lives. There's coming a day when we're going to have to stand and be reckoned, and the Lord is going to say to a lot of people, "Oh, I don't know you. You look just like the others." I want the Lord to look at me and say, "Come on, Brother Dave, come over here. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Inherit the kingdom that I have for you." I don't want the Lord to say, "Depart from me, I know you not." I don't want the Lord to look in the crowd. I know that it's not going to happen this way. You know, we think that at judgment that we're going to really have to say, it's going to be quick. Because the Bible says in the twinkling of an eye. It's not going to happen this long stuff. You know, Jesus is not going to call the whole world together and start picking up people who go to the left and who go to the right. He don't have time for that, although he might have time for that, since time is not an issue. But either way, I got a feeling that I just going to be caught up and taken away in the twinkling of an eye. That's my belief. I believe that the others will be condemned to hell. I do not want to be one in the group that's condemned to hell. And I'm not preaching hell and brimstone, but it's a real place. It's a real destiny, but it's not the destiny, the preferred destiny that God has for you. God wants you to walk and talk and move in the image of His Son. See, I felt really proud when a police officer at Temple stopped me one morning as I was running into the building, and he says, "Wait a minute, can I have a word with you?" As a police officer, hey, you know what you do when the police says stop. You stop. I stopped, and he says, "Now, I've been in this post for years, and I've seen you come in all the time, seen you come and go. There's something different about you. What is it?" I think I may have spoken to him to say hi or whatever, but we never had any conversations before then. Why did he stop and say, "There's something different about you"? I said, "Well, we don't have enough time. But let me give you the short version. The short version is I'm a child of God. The short version is that what's different about me is that it's not about what's about me that affects me. It's about who is in me that affects me. You see, it's who is in me that makes me who I am. I'm a child now. I don't have enough time to have this conversation with you, but maybe later we can talk." Now that time never came. He retired and he's gone, so I didn't get to have that long talk with him. But the point is, people have to know who you are because you are reflecting the image of Jesus, the image of Jesus, the Word. Not just trying to pretend to be Jesus the person, but you have to reflect. Because in the book of John it says in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh. The Word came before Jesus. We think that Jesus came before the Word. But in this sense, the Word existed before the person Jesus. Because in the beginning was the Word. We are to reflect the image of the Word. My question to you is, what's your reflection like? Are you blending in? Or are you standing out? Because we are the ecclesia. We are the called out ones. We are supposed to not be we're in this world, but not of this world. We are supposed to be the separated ones. I'm not talking about the aloof ones. I'm not talking about the executive club that looks down on everybody else. That's not who we're called to be. But we are the called out ones because we got to think differently. That when the world is complaining about your president, you got to stop joining in the complaint about your president because he is your president. Yes. I know my wife and I disagree on that because he'll never be her president. But he is my president that I don't appreciate. But he's still my president. Because God says I have to give honor where it's due. God says I have to respect those in authority over me. And I will respect him all the way out the door. But I'm telling you, I am not going to join in a bashing because sometimes, because if he says the right thing, you still want to bash him. We are supposed to pray for our leaders. Now, he's a tough one to pray for. I'm not trying to tell you this is an easy thing. God never says following me is the easy way. God says probably it's pretty difficult to follow me, but I'm there with you. You got to pray for your president. You got to pray for a change of heart. You got to pray for some sort of righteousness to come upon this man. You got to pray for some conviction to come over him. You got to pray that he will not continue down this road of degradation, but that he will have a turning point. Yes, sir. But if you join and blame with everybody else and condemn him, then you'll get another 4 years because God will say you haven't learned. See, you don't realize that. You don't realize that. If you don't do what God has called you to do, then you're going to get another 4 years. You know, the children of Israel had a chance to enter the promised land the first time around. Amen. I want you to know that. They came right to this point, which will be the door to the promised land. But because of confusion in the camp, because of a few of them who felt that they had some say, they said, no, we can't go that way. And so for 40 more years, they went around and around. If you don't do what God says to do today, beware, saints, you might have 40 years before you get back to the promised land. 40 years, a whole generation. As a matter of fact, God condemned that whole generation. Only 2 from that generation made it into the promised land. Wow, isn't that a shame? And so I'm saying to you, if you don't straighten up and fly right, if you don't get with the program, get with God's program, you might be saddled with this president for 8 years. So think about that. And start to say, you know what, Pastor might be right. Let me start praying now. I'm going to pray him out of office. Praise the Lord. I don't care, but pray for your president. We need a change. We need a world leader that isn't going to keep bringing down this nation of greatness to a nation of complacency. You know, we need to have leaders at all levels. They don't have to be born again, as great as they are. They don't have to be born again, but we want them to be persuaded by the born again. We want to have them fear God. We want to have them in a place that we can say, okay, I don't agree with this, but that's all right. But which one of us, because the whole church that's being represented today is called the ecumenicals, or not the ecumenical, the evangelicals. They're all sold out their principles. Yep. They have all blended in so beautifully that you can't tell a believer from an unbeliever. Listen to how they talk. They don't say anything bad about the bad. They don't stand up for good. God has called us. God says in the Old Testament story that there's a plumb line. God sets the standard of the plumb line, just like in buildings. When this building was built, they used the plumb. Yes, sir. If they didn't use it, they got lucky, because this building is still standing for so long. They used the plumb line, so this floor is level. These columns are erect and level. Yes. These walls are built, they're level. So when you pitch a 2-ton roof on top of this place, it doesn't push the walls down. It doesn't cause the things inside to buckle, but it sits so perfectly because it's on the sure foundation. Same thing with our Christian life. We have to be built on a true, sure foundation. And the pillars of our life, which is the truth, the Word of God, all of the things of the Bible, those are the pillars of our truth. They have to stand, and then we have to put the rest of our lives on the pillars of the Word. Amen. All of the decisions that we make in our lives ought to be resting on the Word. And I mean all this. Big, what you call big, what you call small. They're still all. You know, I recently was blessed with some money. Hallelujah. Woo! Let me tell you, it's great to have money. All of you who want to be poor, stay poor. I want to be rich. I was blessed with some money because the Lord helped me to refinance, so my huge mortgage, I have a whole month free. Didn't have to pay that mortgage. Wow! Woo. Can't wait for the day when that's true for the rest of my life. I don't have to pay that mortgage. I only got 1 month free, but I'm happy. Just think about what I will be when I'm not. But the Lord has blessed me. I want to share this blessing with you. The Lord has blessed me that for an extra $300 a month, I cut off 15 years of my mortgage. All right. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. Thank you, Donald Trump. Praise the Lord. Hey, if you sign I can get a refinance and cut my mortgage in half from 30 to 15 for only a $300 a month fee, thank you. Praise the Lord. And then I got a rebate from my escrow account. So not only did I not have to spend that money in the 1 month, but I got almost the same amount back. Now, that's a little tricky because I'm going to have to pay that again later. But I'm rich this last month. Woo! I mean, it is nice that on the 5th of the month, all of my bills are paid. Hallelujah. But I can tell you this, I'm not going to spend one penny on something that I shouldn't be spending. Amen. God didn't bless me so I could go out there and blow the blessing. God blessed me so I could say, well, how can I use this to help someone else? Not to help my son, just for me and my wife. Praise the Lord. God is good. God does so many good things to his people. But we have to live by his standard. See, we want the blessings. We want the testimony. We want to be able to stand up and shout what God has done for us. And that's good. But we don't want to put in the work. We think that it's faith alone. But James says you got to get some works in with those faith. Right? It's faith and it's action. You can believe all you want to believe by saying, I believe, but until you move in your belief, it is only talk. I believe God can heal me, but you lay down there helpless and you don't try to move, you will stay there helpless, waiting for God to come and help you. I'm not saying, we always got these contradictory things. I'm not saying the Lord helps those who help themselves. That's not in the scripture as it said. But the Lord wants you to move according to his word. So if you want to reflect Christ, you reflect it according to his word. It says, I am predestining you to conform to the image of the word. When people see you, they should see the word. They should see some scripture that says that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Yes, you can have issues with depression, but God says, that's not what I've called you to be. I've called you to speak to that depression and call and say to it, get thee behind me, Satan, and get up, as David did, and dust off the sackcloth and ashes and start praising the Lord. God is trying to tell you that in the midst of your trouble and turmoil, that you should still praise the Lord, because you should praise your way through. Yes. You don't wait till you get through to start praising the Lord. You start praising the Lord when you can't even see how you're going to get through. But in your praise, see what happens is when you start praising the Lord, you get blinded from what is in front of you. Praise puts blinders on you. I'm happy for praise. The more you praise the Lord, the less you see. The peripheral goes real fast because you're looking up. You're praising God. I don't know what's going on out here anymore. I'm just praising God. And the more you focus on him, the songwriter says, the things of this world will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. When Moses saw the light of God's glory, you think Moses looked around to see who was there? You think Moses was worried about if there was an animal over there coming after him or the enemy? No, he was like, wow. I'm hoping that we would get so wrapped up in the glory of God's grace that we wouldn't even see that neighbor that's in pain. I see saints fighting over simple things. That's not the word. Last point I want to make is, saints, we are called to be the image of God. We could go on all day with this image. Image of God in the forgiveness of each other. Because all of us have sinned and come short of the glory of God. All of us are guilty and deserve death. The wages of sin is death. I'm so happy that there was no period put after the word death, because we would have been in trouble. There's a comma and it says but. And I love but when it works for me. Because but says ignore all that came before. The wages of sin is death. And if I stick on that, I'm in trouble because I've sinned and I gotta die. And oh Lord, help me. But the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. The gift of God is eternal life. So the wages of sin is death. But you don't have to die, because here's the gift of God. The gift of forgiveness. The gift of love. The gift of grace. The gift of mercy. The gift of blessing. The gift goes on and on and on. Says there's no stop about the gift of God. The gift of God is not just eternal life, meaning that when you die, you're going to rise again and be with Him forever. That's good. That's a short-sighted way of thinking of the gift of God is eternal life. The gift of God is eternal life even while you're here on earth. That you will have life, because He said, I've come that you may have life abundantly. The gift of God is abundant life here on earth. The gift of God is that no one has given up house or land or family or anything on earth that I will not restore to them on earth in their life. Sevenfold. That's the gift of God. So we are destined to live in the gift of God. We are destined to live in abundance. We are destined to live free of debt.
Amen.
Somebody got it. We are destined, Matthew says, don't owe anybody anything. Because then you start to become their slave.
That's right.
Only thing you owe them is love and forgiveness. God says, I don't have time. I have time, but you won't give it to me. I got time, but you still leave if I keep going on. Forgiveness. The reason why we don't have what we could have, or as much as what we should have, very often it comes down to that one word, forgiveness. God says if a husband and wife mess up with each other, their prayers become hindered. If I don't forgive my wife, recently I've been just telling her how much I love her till she gets sick of it. And I'm still loving her. I'll go by and say, I love you, babe. But I really do. Leave me alone. I'm busy working. But I love you. If you're married, you should love your spouse.
Amen.
As Christ loved the church, man. That's what God says. I'm going to love my wife because I want that. See, you think that I'm loving my wife because she's so wonderful, which she is, and that because she's so beautiful, which she is. But I'm loving my wife for selfish reasons too.
All right.
If I don't love her, I can't get love. If I don't give love, God is, what does God teach you in his prayer? Forgive others. Because if you want God to forgive you according to how you forgive others, you better start forgiving a whole lot of people. And you better start forgiving the ones that hurt you most. Don't start with the ones that hurt you least. You want big forgiveness and big love from the Lord, you got to give big forgiveness and big love to each other. We hinder our progress in the kingdom because we don't forgive, we don't love one another, and they'll know we are Christians by our love.
Amen.
God says to love even your enemies.
That's what He said.
Yes.
And I tell you, God does not Because that is a hard one. But God didn't say do the easy thing. Because he says even sinners do the easy thing.
That's right.
So God says, I want you to be better than sinners. If someone hits you on the left cheek, right, turn your left also. If they take your coat, give them your cloak. Now, again, I'm not trying to teach you to be a wimp. But I'm trying to teach you the word. When you apply the word, when you don't give back because you receive negative, when you don't forgive because somebody really hurt you, I mean, you know, God even stops you when you try to hurt yourself. Because when you give to the Lord, you're guaranteed blessings. Mm-hmm. So God says, when you bring your offering, and there the Holy Spirit reminds you that you have or there is some problem with a brother, I see if God is smart, leave the offering. Don't take it back with you. Leave the offering, but you go and make that thing right. Because, see, if you leave the offering that you've done your giving, and you go and make it right, then God can do his giving. You see, you think that God is just setting you up for some hard stuff. Oh, now I got to leave my offering here. I got to go and find this person who hurt me, who said this about me. And now I got to go and tell them I forgive them. And you got this bad attitude. You know, you let the kid, when you tell them you got to go back over to the neighbor's house and say, I forgive you. You're, yeah, you got to go. God is not trying to punish you. God is saying, I got some blessings up here that I want to just shower you with. And you brought me the gift. It's a good gift. And I don't want you to not get blessed for your good gift. I want you to go and make it right with your brother. When you make it right, you see all the blessings that God will restore from you. For those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. Saints, God's plan for you is for you to look like the Word. W-O-R-D. And God's plan for you is to bless you so that the world will see how great is our God. I am amazed at how great our God is. I'm amazed that he still loves me, even me. As a little kid, we sing, I'm so glad that Jesus loves me. Right? Jesus loves even me.
Thank you, Lord.
That's, all of us should be able to be glad that our Father in heaven loves you, loves me. And he wants to bless all of us. You don't know how badly God wants to bless you. God is staying awake, because he doesn't sleep, all day and night, looking for ways to bless you. That's the nature of God. The question is, do you blend or do you stand up? We're in this world, we're not of this world. If you're blending a little bit too much, your conversation is blending too much, your character is blending too much, your witness is blending too much. If you find yourself blending, if that's becoming your personality, then an opportunity to say, Lord, embolden. Help me, Lord, to reflect your word so that I will not blend. The altar is open. It is a challenge for all of us because it is much more comfortable to blend. It takes some work to stand out, especially as this world is going. Especially in this day of the rights of the LGBTQ and all the other numbers that is you put up there. And the church is saying no, 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 no. And the world is saying, oh. I don't want you to go on a crusade. I don't want you to, let me tell you, God says love us all. You better start loving some LGBTQ people. Don't think that God is calling you to bash anyone. God died for everyone equally. You don't deserve His grace any more than anyone else. So I'm not trying to stand for them. I'm just saying that you gotta love them because you gotta love everyone. But you cannot blend your theology so that it conforms to the comfort of this world. You have to stand for Christ. If you want help, the altar is open. If the Spirit of God is saying to you, I think you've been blending a little bit too much, brother. Sister, I think you've been leaning a little too much. Come. It's a call because God is looking at you and God is saying to you, I have a call for you. I have a plan for you. I have a preferred outcome for your life. To anyone else? Messages to encourage you along the way, not to single you up, not to ostracize you, but to help you. Thank you that you've called us to be a reflection of your word. Help us, Lord. Help us to live lives that reflect who you are. Help us to love our enemies and do good to those that despitefully use us, persecute us. Help us to be an example of the believer in word and conversation and character. Help us to be more like you. Help us to be different when we leave than how we came. Thank you. We don't pray against the enemy who would try to convince us that we don't need any more help. We rebuke the enemy and his negative thoughts. We rebuke the enemy who wants to eat up the word so that it will just fall by the wayside or fall along on the rocky place or fall on the thorny place. We pray that this word will bring forth fruit. some 30, some 60, some 100. Amen.